excited. We have our first official guest, which is Miss Maureen. Miss Maureen actually is great. What she does is she helps you launch your online course. So this is a multi-billion-dollar business that is growing over the course of 2025 and expected to grow even more in 2026. And Maureen is one of those people that really helps you get in and get it done. So we thought we would talk to her today about really just actually launching and taking steps to execute your plan and your vision versus having it and kind of meandering through it for a few months and missing your opportunity. And the three of us just did this for each other last week. We gave each other a launch and execution challenge last week just because we're friends and we hang out and we're entrepreneurs and action takers. So we launched our own mini offers all together last week with accountability around that. But Maureen, I was wondering, can you tell us like what when you think about like the key to success of launching versus kind of thinking about doing something? Because I mean, you take something that's huge and make it manageable, right? Something that's overwhelming. What what are some keys to that, or what are some things that help people move forward versus being stuck?
So I think once you have like a very clear vision and you understand who you're talking to, that it just all becomes easier. So I think with just a little bit of research, um, you can move forward. So the first four questions that I always ask my clients when they are not sure what their course topic is going to be, I ask them, what do you get paid to do? What's your W-2 and W-9 work? What do people text you and ask you about and get advice for? The third one is, what niche are you already a part of that you can kind of see where there's something missing, and kind of to piggyback off of that, the fourth one is, what gap do you see in the market? So I think if you can answer any of those four questions, you can kind of figure out what your online course should be, figure out who your niche should be. And I think that's like 50% of doing a course is knowing what your topic is going to be and who's it going to be for, because execution is all about having kind of that like tunnel vision where you just go from point A to point B. And there's so much noise out there that I think a lot of people get wrapped up in, well, what if I make my niche bigger, or what if I go so small? And they don't really understand that, you just have to have an idea and then kind of move through it, because everything is fluid when it comes to execution and online courses, that you lose confidence once you just don't progress. So once you have the idea and once you kind of know who you're, generally speaking, who your target audience is going to be, you can move forward that way. And that kind of takes that like weight off of you, because you will be changing a little bit here and there, but overall you can just move forward and see what happens.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. What about you, Bobby? What do you think are a key, like a key thing we have to have? Because like Maureen's talking a lot about clarity, which is so true. You can't take decisive action if you're not clear.
I'm gonna piggyback off Maureen, and I agree with her on the niches. And like every morning, I'm gonna give you a true story. Every morning I wake up, first thing I think about is how everything I'm doing won't work. That's the first thing. I, it's like it's horrible. It's horrible for like 5 minutes. And then I sit there thinking, why am I saying thinking this? And it's really about believing in what you're doing. And the fact is that everything anyone does will work if they give it the right time and water it and let it grow. Niching down is good because that way you can think about one thing and that's it, and then grow on that. So really, it's about just executing, finding what you want to do, and believing in it, and believing in it, and don't waver because it will work. Because time is on your side.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
would
my
say
principle.
decisive action.
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse
Just
me. And if you
start.
do
Just
that,
start.
you get decisive action.
Yeah, and just start. And we have social media today, which is great, but yet everyone's on it, which is bad because there's a lot of noise out there. So it's hard to kind of find your space in your people where someone's looking for X, but you're speaking about Y. Where are my Y people? So,
So, and you guys have both gone through this process just in the last like 6 months or year,
hmm
even for your new things that you're launching, your new
yeah.
programs. like, what is a key that you have found trying to navigate that space? Because it is really noisy. So you're on the other side, I think, of a lot of that noise. What
Hmm.
kind of things helped you get rid of the kind of chaos, right? Because I've been in it for, not that I've been in business longer than you guys necessarily. It's more that I learned how to get rid of the noise years ago, before it got even more loud and noisy. What are some things that you guys have found to really help you with that? Because I think that's a big key to success as well.
Well, for
Maureen.
me personally, when I first started in business, there was no noise. There was nothing. It was a vast void. There wasn't Facebook, there wasn't Instagram, there wasn't TikTok, nothing. It's basically whatever was in front of you was your noise. So I was in that world for a long time, and now I'm in the digital world. So I just been really just trying to focus and trying to just get everything, the noise away from me by just not looking for it and not engaging with it and just being in my own little bubble and believing my bubble is the right bubble and just executing on that fact.
That makes sense, yeah. That ties into what you were saying earlier, too.
Hmm.
What about you, Maureen?
So mine's a little different. I just take the dog for a walk, and whatever noise happens, I just kind of filter it out that way because it's important to me to have that like grounding activity because as an entrepreneur, like you get really in your mind, and like I think if you don't go outside and like literally touch grass, like everyone says, the noise will get to you because, it's just sometimes being an entrepreneur is a confidence game. And if you
Hmm.
don't have some sort of like physical outlet that's, also social, it will kind of mess with you because we are so chronically online. We forget that there's an actual world that does not care about what's going on. I mean, and you can even, go out and about and people don't even know what, someone who's supposedly so big in the authority in your niche, they don't even know who that person is. They just want to hear about what you're doing. So
Hmm.
it's very grounding and it lets you live in the moment more. So that's generally what I try to do, at least for like an hour a day.
I think that, but that's really great because I know I personally get stuck online where I have trouble, in part because I have to check notifications all the time for clients and things.
Hmm.
But it becomes a thing where it's tough to put my phone down. It's tough to turn it over on the table. My kids are now like, you're playing the board game with us, that phone better be turned over. Like you gotta take pause. And it's tough sometimes to remember when you get stuck in the habit. I
Hmm.
100% get stuck. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, and getting stuck is an issue. I'm stuck right now. I'm trying to get unstuck, and I swear. I mean, I know you can go on your phone and turn off your app for 8 hours, which I should start doing, and not look at Instagram for hours, start scrolling through crap,
Hmm.
and kind of just focusing on what we had to focus on. And I'm happy that, as you said, we're all three friends here, that we kind of helped each other last week focus on a specific thing we should do for the next X amount of time to generate money. Because I saw yesterday how people are getting fired in X, Y, and Z. And the fact is that finding a job won't be overnight. Why not spend the time creating and making money and living life on your own terms?
You know
You
what's
know.
crazy about that is I know somebody who was just let go, just
Hmm.
downsizing as companies are, right? And they're like, "Wait, I haven't found a job yet." And I'm like, "Ma'am, it has been 3 weeks." She's like, "Yeah, but I haven't gotten like an interview or anything." I'm like, "But it's like a 3 to 6 month process. Like you're
Yeah.
not,
Period.
it just is." And I would spend half your day doing what you need to for your job search, doing what you need to follow up with
Hmm.
recruiters or whatever, and the other half of the day building your own thing. And it gives this empowerment to you that you're taking back what was stolen from you, this idea that your fate is in somebody else's hand. It brings
Hmm.
that back to you, and you now have control again of your life.
Yeah.
I, to me, you actually end up showing up better in interviews as well.
100%. Because you don't need them.
Right,
Yep.
right.
That's the beautiful thing. We don't need them, and having a job is great, but not having a job is awful. But yet now you have the time, the forced time, to work on your own thing. And the economy in the United States, I think, in the future, you have to have your own thing because I don't think salaries can go up. I don't think anyone's going to start making $280,000 because that happens. Everything goes up. You know, if everyone was a millionaire, there are no millionaires.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So you always have to somewhat go against the grain and make 5 times more than the average person.
Yep.
Yeah, and actually, I
That's
think
yeah.
the holdup for that is knowing how and doing all of the prep work that you need to do to start that. I think that's a big part of the holdup. But Maureen, that's literally what you help people do. You help people who are already working another job
Yep.
create their passive income on the side with the online course programs that you launch for people. So how do you help, or what is the suggestion to help people navigate that space where they're brand new, they know they want to do passive income, they just don't quite know how to balance the time of it all?
So when I left the classroom, one of the first times, because it takes a couple of times to leave. I was working in a museum, so it was the first time and I was working in a museum, and I wanted to work in the museum, and then I was designing curriculum for the museum, and I also wanted to design curriculum for homeschool students. And it is very tough in the beginning when you're learning, when you have a job and then you're working on your side projects, your side hustle. It is very hard to balance it. And I wish that I had something else to say rather than you just have to practice it. There's no secret that works for everybody. It took me a very long time, and I would venture to say the first year that I had left the classroom and I was being a solopreneur, that was my biggest struggle because you have to bring the clients in and then you have to do the work of the clients and then you also have to have some sort of a social life and you have to be with literally go outside and be with your dog and be with your friends and go to concerts and what have you. And I had a really hard time balancing all three. I really did. And then finally, I started keeping track of what works and what didn't. And so there's nothing really to say other than just kind of know that it's a very messy process, know that most people can't master it, but have the faith in yourself that the answer is out there. You just have to reach it. But really kind of give yourself the grace that you are going to have some tough moments. There's going to be some great moments, some tough moments, and then moments that you don't know what you're going to do. But it's like you can't really see the big stairwell. You just have to focus on the one step before that. And what I like to do is so I have a 9 to 5 and then I do everything on the side. And I create very strong boundaries. So during my 9 to 5, I don't work on anything outside of my corporate job. And then when the clock strikes 5, I am out the door with the dog. And then I really make it so that I don't do anything for my corporate job during my like solopreneur time. So that's how I keep that like very strong boundary. And there's going to be some days where it's messy and it doesn't always work. But, for the most part, just have your work time, your corporate time, your job time, and then your solopreneur time. And then schedule at least a couple of hours on Sunday to be in your pajamas and watch, ghost stories or whatever, and just understand that that time that you feel like, well, I could be doing this, that, and the other, if you don't have that time to rest, then you can't do the balance. So focus more on the balance rather than the achievements because the balance will take you more in the long run than the achievements will.
I feel like that's how I've started talking about social media, that it's like going to the gym. It's the consistency that wins, right? And I think that's kind of what you're getting at too, is like the consistency in building your business wins, even on the bad days or the messy days or the days you didn't hit your to-do list goals or whatever, you're still moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
right? What about
Definitely.
you, Bobby? What do you think is a good way to look at it?
I believe that in 2025 that we don't have to spend a lot of time on your business. What we have to do is figure out a way to automate a lot of processes that weren't available 5 years ago and say, so I think you spend more time learning than actually doing because what you're learning can make it automate what you're doing. So you may spend only an hour a week after you spent 20 hours on your business because it becomes automated. Like, I'm going to do this on Saturday, every Saturday, and that means my work for next week is over with and done. All I have to do is kind of check my emails, text, and do this, that, and the other. So figure out a way to automate your business, especially if you have a 9 to 5. That way you're not getting burned out. Because it's hard. Like Maureen just said, she works 9 to 5 on one thing, and then probably 5 to 9 on the other. It's hard to do that every day for a year.
Yeah.
It's hard. So if you can automate some things, do that. That way you don't have to worry about a lot of different things.
Yeah, and you know what? I always tell people too, because once you get into the automation game, you get kind of excited. It's the best new shiny object. So I always tell people start with one automation at a time.
Hmm.
Make sure it's working and up and running before you go on to the next one. Also, 'cause
Yeah.
I often see people be like, "This is amazing," and they'll make like six of them, and then when they break, they don't know where the break is.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know this is coming. What do you guys think about SMS marketing?
that's such a big question. Do you? In what regard?
Okay, so I've been thinking about the normal email funnels, right?
Sure.
And I go through my emails every day, blah blah blah. I skim through a ton of stuff.
Hmm.
I look for like there's certain things I look for, and I'm probably skimming through 20 funnels.
Yeah.
But I always look at my SMS junk mail. Always, I look at it. Oh, junk. But if it's something good, like if it's a sale at Ralph Lauren, I'm like, ooh, Ralph Lauren sale. Boom, I'm hitting it. I
And
don't
for
know.
anybody
Just
who
thinking
doesn't know,
more.
this is text messaging. If people,
Yeah.
anybody who's not sure what that means.
I'm sorry. Yeah, text messaging. And I'm thinking I'd rather spend more money sending out a text to my 1,000 member email list than sending out 1,000 emails. Because
Mm.
if someone wants something, a lot of times people forget. People forget. Like I always tell to somebody, if someone calls me and tries to sell me something on Monday, hey, I can't talk to you right now. Can you call me tomorrow? They never call me tomorrow. They never do.
Hmm.
I probably want their product, but I won't buy it because they forgot about me. So if you send a text out that's like, let's say every Monday, you send a text for Elevate. Hey, Elevate, happy Monday. Hit this little button and see your schedule for the week. Something. Oh, this is great. I won't forget this.
Hmm.
But if it's an email of 800 emails I got on Monday morning, they'll forget about it. Not on purpose, just because, well, can't, not right now.
Oh, they don't see it because
You
it's
don't
in.
see it. So I
So
don't know. I'm just
I'll
thinking.
say this. I think because it's expensive to do text messaging in bulk.
Hmm?
So one of the reasons I don't make it a big thing in Elevate that I teach is because I think you have to have a sense of funnels and messaging first, and then you can easily
Yeah.
translate that over to text message.
Yeah.
But I find if people just jump in the text message, they're just getting marked as spam, and then their number isn't reaching people. They're
Yeah.
getting blocked by providers.
But like if someone wants your stuff, like Elevate, I want
Yeah,
your stuff, Jasmine. I want your stuff.
sure.
But the fact is, I go through my emails and I miss it.
Hmm.
But if every week I have one email from Elevate every week, and I'm looking forward to it. Oh, my text, excuse me, not email, text. Oh,
Yeah.
here it is. Great. This is my weekly schedule. Perfect. I don't know. I mean, I know it's more expensive, but it's cheaper than advertising,
Yes.
and it's email's free. The email is noisy.
I'm not against it. I don't mean
Yeah,
to sound that I'm against it. All I'm saying is I tell people to first wrap your head around email marketing because it's easier for you to
yeah,
understand the funnel and the language. And then once you have something that hits, turn that into a text version.
yeah. That's a good
That's
point.
kind of, yeah.
I'm gonna work
But
on that.
I will tell you, I've ended up on a couple of sales calls last year because the text messages were like conversations. And they're like, hey, like just asking a question. I'm like, yeah, no, that sounds great. Hey, you want to just hop on a call? Sure. And I was on the call going, oh, and then they handled the sales call wrong, which I've been trying to figure out how to do a video about because it was
Right.
just a trash call. But the lead up was brilliant. It just smoothly walked me in, right? So I think it has a lot of value, is my short answer. I agree
Yeah.
with you.
I want to work on that. So maybe we can discuss that a little more in detail during our office hours.
Yeah, because it is really helpful. And I find if you use something like Calendly, people are putting in their phone numbers anyway, and they're already used to getting text from you because it's
Hmm.
the appointment reminder for your call. So you can easily adapt that into a follow up of, hey, how'd you like the call? Hey, do you have any other questions? I was wondering how that thing went. It's really easy to start that
Yeah.
journey.
Gotcha, gotcha. I have a question for Miss Maureen.
Hmm.
Maureen, I know your target markets are teachers.
Hmm.
Um, what are you doing to reach your teachers?
So I'm working now on webinars and trying to build up my email list that way. And then
Hmm.
my social media is targeted just for teachers. And so it's funny because I originally started as solopreneurs, and then as I niched down, I figured, teachers are kind of the untapped market. And it's funny to see how I'm just starting to reach out to them. So my posts that are just very general solopreneurs do better at this point than the ones that are niched down for teachers. So I'm still building that rapport,
Mm.
figuring out what they like and what they don't like, and what resonates with them. So I'm just focusing as much as I can on the webinars now, probably a little bit more than I am on social media, recording the webinar, seeing what I like and what I don't like, and pulling pieces out. Um, so yeah, so I'm just in the beginning phases, but I hope like a year from now I'll be able to give like a fuller answer. Yeah, when you're first starting out to reach a niche, it's even if you say the right things and do the right things, it still takes a little bit to build.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I think too. Also, right now views are a little low on a couple of platforms. The algorithms are in some kind of updates on a couple of channels. Like I know you're big on TikTok and YouTube, and those algorithms have been a little dicey the last 2 weeks. Also,
Yes.
they really have been. Everybody's talking about it, so there's that too.
And yeah, I'm thinking more about actually talking on doing more things on LinkedIn as we discussed before,
Yeah.
and just direct the messaging for people with jobs and people who are looking for jobs
Mm-hmm.
because that's where they are on LinkedIn, right? And I think there's less. I need to get involved more in the videos on LinkedIn
Yeah.
because there are fewer videos on LinkedIn, but yet people are looking at them. Maybe not as much as TikTok, obviously, but that's good because that way there's fewer for them to go through.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm looking more into that. How about you, Miss Jasmine? What do you think?
So I'm actually looking at doing a post like my top TikToks onto LinkedIn, going back to doing that, which I've been getting about 200 to 400,000 views that way.
Mm,
But what I would do is I would find one video a week that was my top TikTok, like performing TikTok, and
mm-hmm.
then one that matched whatever the news story is on LinkedIn. So people were already looking for that news story, and it was bumped up visibility that way. So being really targeted with that strategy. But then I want to really jump off on my Substack. So that's what I'm going to
Yeah.
be focusing on the next month is taking my content and transcribing it and then putting it into blog articles so that I can start building an audience there that likes the written content because there's a lot of people that love that. And it's the same content just in different formats. So, and then the other thing I want to do is what I want to call the daily spark. So it's taking those top little TikToks that I've done over the last like 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
like that one TikTok, those TikToks where people are like, oh, that was a great like 30-second video, or that was a great 1 minute, like right around a minute to 2 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and publishing a podcast series that is a once a day drip out of those top tips. So people that are subscribed can just in the morning be like, ding, here's my 1 minute inspiration on how to like show up today on socials. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking about doing.
That's I like that. I like that. I need to look into Substack. I've been using Beehive for our newsletters, but Substack is more than that, right? Substack's more
Yeah,
than
it's similar, but it's I don't know how to say that it's different. It's more like medium. It's closer to medium.
okay. I use Medium all the time.
Yeah,
Okay,
closer to that. And a
got it.
lot of big creators from TikTok are going over there. So while Substack was kind of quiet 2, 3 years ago, and then about a year ago, it started getting a little bit
Right.
more. but you had to like fight to get people over there because if people weren't there, they weren't going. Now people are already following some of their favorite creators over there, so they're looking for other people to find and follow. So
I
it's
guess because there's less noise, less
and
noise.
again, all the big creators are going there. So if you want to be able to move together all these communities, and I keep saying the next big thing is going to be community based, right? That's where
Right.
the next thing we're all going to be looking for. So this is another one of those signs of people looking for community, and I think that's another reason why what I think you're doing, Maureen, is really going to blow up because people can build a community based off their online course and
Yep.
have that kind of foundational training and support for people, and then come together and discuss how to actually enact what they're doing and growing and scaling that they learned in that course. They just kind of
Mhm.
go hand in hand, I think.
Yeah, because you always need more than a course. You always do.
Yeah.
Yep.
You need some hand holding. You need some someone to look like we do in our office hours. We look at each other's projects.
Yeah.
Like this video, we have to do this video, and that's something that's important. In fact, I decided for my course, I'm going to lower the cost for the first 6 months to something that is pocket change,
Yeah.
and then put them into the community ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That way, I can generate a bunch of money up front and raise the prices in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
People who bought the course are happy because they bought it cheap, and the ones that are going to buy it in 6 months are happy because it's been proven.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot more testimonials. I have a lot more of this. I had a couple of events under my belt. So it's like, oh, this is a great group. I'll pay X dollar for it now. So yeah, so my first price was $379. I'm gonna take it down to $199
There
and
you
just
go.
sell
Yeah.
all day, every day.
Yeah.
You know, 10 a day, 10 a day, 10 a day, and
Yeah.
then you know, and not worry about what's going to happen in 6 months. Just raise the price.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. That goes with really the challenge I was referencing earlier for the three of
Mm-hmm.
us, which
Mm-hmm.
was our mini for millions. So it's our mini offers we each put together. We
Mm-hmm.
challenged each other because
Yeah.
that's what we do on office hours. We challenged each other to make a mini offer that could passively build income.
Mm-hmm.
And so mine is a startup social media kit, so you can in a weekend get your socials totally aligned and dialed in.
Mm-hmm.
And then Maureen, you're actually doing a fast course that, well, I say fast in that it walks you through without wasting time so
Yep.
that teachers can launch their online programs really quickly and then be making passive income before the next school year starts, right?
Mhm. Yes, sell by September. I'm very excited about it. It's a 6-week program, and every Monday a video will drop, and then we will have our weekly group call, either on Monday or Wednesday. And then I also have it so that they have a private LinkedIn group so that if they have any
Mm-hmm.
questions, they can post it there and I can answer, someone else can answer. Because again, when you have a corporate job, it is very difficult to like take a break during the day and then go through everything. But I want them to have that space so that if I can't get to it right away, someone else can. And then I have a weekly webinar that they can also join. And then for people who are new to webinars, you can actually do a private webinar on Eventbrite. So I'm going to play around a little bit with doing a private webinar and then also a public one. But they will have eyeball to eyeball time about 3 times a week. And then, just a lot of support because I know for a lot of teachers, it's not kind of in their wheelhouse, the marketing, the design, like how to speak to niches, because it is so different. That's what I experience. It's so different working with children and then versus working with adults. And so I kind of have to like, I want them to be able to feel comfortable asking the questions that everyone else has, but maybe they don't want to ask it just yet, or they don't want to, they don't have that confidence yet. So it's kind of a confidence booster for teachers who want to sell, know that, there's going to be cuts coming and want to be prepared. And I am all here for them because I spent 12 years in the classroom. So I know exactly what they're feeling. And I feel like If you have someone who's been in your shoes, it's actually easier because I know the little voices, the good, the little angel on the shoulder and also the devil. I know them both very well. So I want them to have that support.
Yeah. And again, I really think we've talked about this before, but it is lonely building your business. It is lonely when you start
Very.
out. Your family and your friends who aren't doing the same thing don't understand, and you're kind of on your own. And you're seeking, like, who can I talk to about this? My husband, my spouse, my friends, my parents, like, don't really understand, and the advice they're giving isn't really helpful. You have to find a community that has the same similar vision and goals that you do for that support to get through those tough morning 5 minutes, right? That you were talking about, Bobby. Those
Hmm.
5 minutes a day where you're like, I just don't know. And you've got to have people that show you how it's possible and remind you every day and give you that energy.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, Maureen gave me a story this morning. We were chatting earlier about a friend of hers she met this weekend, and she was explaining about the course, and that they just didn't understand.
Mhm.
Like, they just didn't understand. Maureen, give me the story real quick again for Jasmine.
So I ran into my ex at Krungvin, a concert this weekend,
Nice.
and he told me that he had just stepped into the classroom to be a teacher in February. So a music teacher. And so I was like, oh, well, my target audience is teachers. And I showed him my website and I started talking about it. And he was like, well, I don't want to teach a class like every Saturday. And I was explaining, no, you record the course in lessons and then you sell it that way. And he's like, but I don't understand how that would work. And so I was like, okay, well, then this isn't for you. We like went back to enjoying the music. But even sometimes teachers have that block of, well, I don't know how that would work, you know? And so even if you're a teacher and you know the cuts are coming, there's some that are like, well, let me get prepared. And there's some that's like, well, let me just see what happens,
Mm-hmm.
And I think well, let's see what happens teachers, I mean, that's all I have to say is that's brave. That's very brave. You really, I think at this point have to prepare for the worst. And then when it does happen, it won't be that bad. It will be catastrophic for the people who have not prepared.
Yep.
Bro, I feel like you should follow up with him and act like I don't. It's your ex, so I don't want to like cross boundaries there. But if there is a teacher who doesn't understand, if you could have like a 30-minute talk and just see, well, what does it sound like when you hear this, or what have you seen any online courses? Have you like just get the information and then make a ton of content just addressing all of those points for the educational piece of making sure people know what you do for your target audience.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't think they know what an online course even is. Honest to God, I don't think they don't. That they know that or you can buy a course from someone else and use it. A lot of things people just don't know.
Yeah, they'll know things like I can learn things on Udemy or I can learn things on Teachable, but they don't know those are online courses. They don't think of it in that term necessarily.
Well, I'll give you a quick example for myself. I didn't know that either. I was my own bubble in Miami, had my business, working my business. I had no idea about online courses. It never came up. I'd never heard of Teachable. I never heard of Kajabi, or none of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Or Udemy. That was like something I learned about 2 months ago.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't know about Udemy at all.
yeah,
I had no
yeah,
idea.
same.
And I was always online. I was always in tech. But so people just don't know, including myself.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know any of this stuff existed because I didn't, I wasn't thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I am, so now I know what exists. I know every platform available. I know Circle. I know Mighty Networks. I know School. I know Whoop. I know them all.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm looking into them now. But a year ago, no idea what they were.
Yeah, so there's an element that you have to educate, I think. But again, this is where people get overwhelmed because there's a lot of information, a lot of things to learn. So finding a program like how you're putting together Maureen or how I have done with Elevate or Bobby you're doing for people traveling, finding a program that just cuts through all like
Mm-hmm.
I call it condensing time, right? Instead of
Mm-hmm.
being on the slow path that you're trying to discover and learn everything, go to somebody who already knows the thing and can get you there so much faster.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a huge key to success, and it's the momentum where it's really it can be really tiring to build something if you're going slow and you lose your own momentum and energy behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you've got someone who speeds that up and gets you there, I mean, your course is 6 weeks. I mean, can you imagine like everything they need is in 6 weeks and you're done and you're just spending a couple hours a week and someone's telling you what to do for those hours, you're not guessing. Like that's invaluable, right?
You get again. You're right, 100%. And courses are necessary. I learned a lot in your on your program, not course, but on your program, which has a lot of small courses inside of your program.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is good. And yes, you can learn it online. Yes, you can learn from YouTube. You can go to ChatGPT. But the problem with that is you don't know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're looking at, or what's right, what's wrong, what's a waste of your time, what's old news. You know,
Yeah.
if you looked at a video right now on YouTube about ChatGPT in 2023, let's say, archaic information,
Hmm.
that news is old. ChatGPT's changed from GPT-4 to like 3.0, 3 mini. So staying on top of things and put that into a course saves people countless time and more importantly money.
Yeah.
You know, why would if you have a course, I wouldn't put it on Kajabi until you had enough money for Kajabi.
Hmm.
Kajabi is expensive,
Mhm.
and you don't need half the things in Kajabi to start off your business.
True. Very
Find the
true.
cheaper route, make some money, like a stand store, for example. Throw it on a stand store.
Hmm.
It's $25 a month. You can put all this stuff in there and sell it in 5 hours. You're up and running.
Yeah. Yeah. And then stick with it until you make some decent money because it's the shiny object syndrome that really kind of backs you up. Yeah.
I look at Kajabi and I'm like, Kajabi, the one I was looking at was like $300 a month, something
Yeah.
ridiculous. Or no, it was like, what? That's insane.
Yeah.
I have no customers now. I have nothing.
Yeah.
So you can
And
take away this.
I have people who come to me and they're like, I've already invested $20,000 in my business and I haven't made any sales yet. And I'm like, okay, that's a lot of apps and things that clearly you don't need. So we have to cut that out, right? But so
It's
when
like
we
a
talk about,
restaurant. Yeah.
but just like tying that to the topic of the day, like when we talk about execution, it's not about, buying all the apps and doing all the things. It's about how fast can you go from idea to launch to sale.
Yep.
That's the execution piece I think people have to stay focused on.
Well, today and during our office hours, I would like to put to all three of us. Let's put a time frame on our first dollar
For the new offer,
for the new offer. Is
yeah.
that good with you, Maureen?
I love it.
We'll put a time frame on it, and we will celebrate all of our victories
Yes. Well, we always do
together.
that. We're always
Together,
very, yeah, supportive that way.
because I think that first dollar for our new program, our new little idea, is critical. So for everyone listening, get that first dollar, not the $1.5 million. That first $1 into your bank account from your offer. It's all it takes is $1. That's all it
Well,
takes.
because the thing is what that is that validates that what you have is something people need. And
Yep.
so it gets rid of a lot of or dispels a lot of the unsure and imposter
Hmm.
syndrome and a lot of those
Hmm.
pieces, I think.
And especially if you know people are selling products like yours, there's a market for it.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
it's just your execution.
Hmm.
That's it. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah.
So well, good. So it's been a half hour. I know Miss Maureen has to get back to work.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so
So
much for joining us, though,
yes,
and
thank you
taking
so
time out
much.
of your busy day.
This was so fabulous. I
Thank
uh,
you so
I hope
much.
I hope to come back and let you guys know about all the success that Sell by September has, and give your listeners a blueprint so that they can have a mini offer or an online course that does well.
Good, good, good. Thank you so much.